Hello, dearest Venerable Sumati.
Hello. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. I was beginning to wonder if I was the right day.
Right. Yes.
No problems. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Please make the mudra for the mandala. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain of 4 continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration and wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the Sangha, the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, let's do some rejoicing. Who all is here to rejoice today? Let's start with Evgeny, and I need to get my translation thing going here.
Давайте начнем с Евгения.
Evgeny, what do you have to rejoice about?
Доброй ночи, кому-то утро.
Good night for someone, good morning.
Одна моя знакомая, которой я рассказывал так долго, практически год, про систему семян, и что это может ей помочь, она очень болеет. И я увидел впервые через год результаты.
I would like to rejoice that one friend who I told about seed system during 1 year, she started to use a seed system, and she was seriously ill, and she got some results after she started to use seed system. And for me, it was so rejoiceful, and I would like, I'm very happy about it.
Wow, very good. Hey, Lama, this stuff works. That was a joke. Very good, Evgeny. Well, I'm happy for you, and I'm happy for your friend who had some success. That's always encouraging. We just have to remember that that success probably came from seeds and way, way long ago. Might have come from seeds right now, or recently, but we shouldn't confuse the fact that most of what's the karma's ripening now is karma from the past, not the recent past. But either way, yay. Okay, let's see who's next. Jackie.
Hello, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I rejoice that yesterday the cleaning of the house has been done, and I was able to take the time to go and meet the cleaners personally and say gratitude and thank you. And today should be the last day, hopefully, that we get the rest of the things out of the garage. So it's been a huge journey and with a lot of things to clear out. And it just reminds us of how we can just really be grateful and live a simple life and be content with all that we have. And hopefully, if you see anyone you've seen that you can feel concerned for, please help them in some way to let go of things and help them in their journey. I would be very grateful. And may we all help others to find simplicity and happiness and joy and the Dharma in their life. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I'm very happy that you stuck with it and you had faith in the idea that the seeds would work, and they did. And even though that may be from past deeds and not recent ones, your parents are high karmic objects, so there's every reason to think by working hard with them, you got it to ripen as quickly as you did. So, yay. Okay, Svetlana, what do you have to rejoice about?
Well, hello everyone. I would like to rejoice that I've managed to cook a nice dish today for lunchtime. So I didn't have to go somewhere to buy food or to a cafe, but I cooked some dish and it was healthy vegetables and quite delicious. So I would like to rejoice it and have more healthy food.
What did you cook? What was it made of?
It was cabbage, like steamed cabbage with grasses and like nuts, milk with grasses. It's like a sauce.
Oh, what do you mean by grasses?
I think she meant herbs.
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 Oh,
Herbs.
okay. I was going to say grasses. But herbs. Well, good. That sounds tasty.
Green salad like this. Herbs
Okay.
as well.
And my wife likes purple cabbage in her meals. I like purple cabbage as coleslaw. I like coleslaw. But, well, okay. Sheila, what do you have to rejoice in?
Hello, everybody. I rejoice that today in the morning I went to walk to a little forest that is here in the city of Guadalajara, and I picked up all the trash that I see on my way.
Wow, very good.
Yes.
Very good. Was it a lot?
No, only papers that the people use to clean the nose.
Ooh.
Yes, but it doesn't matter.
Well,
I wash my hands very well.
Did I tell you the story about Mike picking up some stuff in the parking lot in El Paso?
No.
No. Oh, well, I'll tell you that when I get to me rejoicing. Katya, how about you?
Hello, everybody. My rejoice is that I have been meditating all day, every day, in the last month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good. I'm impressed.
And I want more.
Well, that's even better then. Okay, Natalia, how about you?
I had to translate today for Ina and Bill for ACI 2 to Bulgarian. And what was interesting that before the class started, I was listening to about quantum jumping. Have you heard of quantum jumping? So yeah. It's very interesting. And the idea is that we kind of live in parallel universes. And once there is multiple versions of us, and we can mentally connect with, if we need an advice for how to do business, we can connect to ourselves that is in some universe, it's a big businessman or businesswoman, and get advice from them and kind of explore, get a feeling how they feel and become a good businessman or businesswoman. And so later in the class, in the ACI2 class, Bill at the end said, well, they were talking about the jewels, the 3 jewels. And about the last one, he said, not the last one, about the Buddha jewels, he said, you know that every one of us at the end will become Buddha, so you can just go ahead and imagine yourself like you are talking to yourself and ask for help. And this by itself, just the repetition of the things that I was thinking about quantum jumping, and then it got repeated again. It was interesting.
Okay, very interesting. Quantum jumping. I haven't heard of that yet. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, apparently Buddha 2,500 years ago came up with the idea of quantum jumping, but he didn't go in this way.
You just didn't use the words. Becky, what do you have to rejoice in? Can you, or you? Oh, good. Yeah. Thank you for those articles, by the way. I haven't got a chance to read them yet. Okay, my rejoicing. Well, the first one, I need to tell you the story about my picking up stuff. When we were teaching in El Paso, we used to go, and Friday night, it was Friday or Saturday, we'd find a Dharma movie and go to the movies. And one day I was in there, and we got out of the car and we're walking in the parking lot, and I saw a package of what appeared to be garbage at the back tire of a car. So I went over to pick it up, and it turned out to be a diaper that they disposed of. It was all folded up. It was nicely packaged. They just didn't pick it up. So I leaned over and picked it up, and 2 of my students said, you picked up a diaper? My goodness, why did you do that? And I said, well, my mind identified it as garbage, and if I identify it as garbage, I have to pick it up. Otherwise, I'm setting the seeds for garbage to be in my future. So I just picked it up, and they all thought I was a little bit crazy, but I am. So now what else did I want to rejoice in? Oh, they've been working on the cover for my book, the cover picture, and they had several images, and they were not appropriate because they weren't the missiles that I wrote about. And I found one that's a color picture. I wonder if I can share that. No, I probably can't. A color picture is a really beautiful color picture of a launch at dawn. It's extraordinary. And so I sent it to the publisher with the graphic artist with a caption, and he liked it much better than anything he put together. But I was careful. I said, this is just another possibility. I'll leave it to you to make what you think's the best idea. And so he got back to me and said, wow, nice photograph. Let's use that one. So I think by thinking how I'd like it if someone was trying to change my mind, I did it the way I would have liked to have been approached, and it works. So I rejoice in that. That's setting the seeds for me to have the kind of help I need in the future. So, yay. Okay. Well, let's get back into class. We're back to talking about various aspects of emptiness, and this is a little concentrated. Now, what we're going to do after this, we're going to take a break, and then we'll start Lam RIm 2. And Lam RIm 2 is another look at meditation and emptiness in greater detail. There are 30 lectures in that. It was a 10-day retreat. So I'm going to combine meditation and discussion of meditation and more about emptiness in much greater detail. So I think we'll all learn quite a bit more about the details of both meditation and the concept of emptiness with Lam RIm 2. So mark your calendars. When are the dates for Lam RIm 2? They're going to be from the 12th of March to just before Geshe teaches in April. Is that right, Natalia?
Yes, correct. We are ending on the 12th and they start on the 12th. So, but ours would be in 3 p.m. So it's not gonna, should be okay.
Okay. Okay. So if things and people around us are all coming from our own mind, how does this affect whether they work, whether they do things or not? So that's a question that arises often when you're first starting to teach emptiness to students, whether or not things which are products of our mind can still work. Whether, for example, an aspirin can take away a headache if it's coming from us. On beginning level, we can say, yes, things work, even though they're coming from us. We know, for example, the power of an aspirin to take away our headache doesn't lie with the aspirin. If it did, everybody who used aspirin would get a relief from a headache all the time. No ifs, ands, or buts. But we know that's not true. So what then imbues the aspirin with the power to give us relief from our headache? It's our seeds. It's coming from us, because if we have the seeds for medicine to work, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But it has nothing to do with the actual medicine itself. It has everything to do with our seeds. So, for instance, the medication, some of the medications I've tried for Parkinson's have no effect on me at all. And for other people, they have a powerful effect. So I'm not upset that it doesn't work for me. I realize I don't have the seeds for that medication to work, but I do have the seeds for other medication to work. So it's seeds, and if you understand seeds at all, then you can work with them and understand how things work and not get upset when things don't work. So despite the fact the power of the aspirin is coming from our own mind, the aspirin still works when it does work. On a deeper level, Arya Nagarj and Tsongkhapa are fond of saying, and my wife's fond of saying this as well, we shouldn't say things work despite the fact they're coming from our own minds. Rather, they work because they are coming from our own minds. We can say, rather, they work because things are empty. It's the absence of a self-existent thing that we're talking about, the emptiness of. We're not saying that when we say they work because they're empty, we're not saying because there's an absence of anything other than the self-existent gotcha. If aspirin didn't come from our mind, then it would have to exist out there on its own. It would always be there in the form we currently see it. Then it could never move or change or cause a change, such as taking away our headache. That's a really important point. If something's out there on its own, and it doesn't have a cause, then it can't change. And if it can't change, it can't do anything. And if it can't do anything, it's not an aspirin we want to use. So it's very important to remember that if it's out there by itself, it can't change. And if it can't change, it can't do anything. If it can't do anything, then what use is it to us? So when we reach the deep meditation where things are like empty space, the Bonka Rinpoche has said we'll be working on four different essential ideas. The first was identifying the gotcha, that or what emptiness is empty of, the self-existent thing that doesn't exist, the pink two-headed elephant. The second we're discussing now is called deciding that there is coverage. What does this refer to, and how does it lead into the third and fourth essential ideas? The idea of coverage here is that we must look for the me that we used to think we were in one of the two different places. The two places cover all the possibilities that there are. So There are only two possibilities of where me could exist. One's in my parts and one is the whole. If there exists a me that's coming from their own side, if there is a me in that what I see is my mind and body, then it must be either in parts of me or in the whole of me. There is no other choice. It's either the parts, my arm, my leg, my torso, my head, or it's all of my parts together as a whole. If we don't find the me in either of the parts of me or the whole of me, then we can say the me we used to think isn't there, think about isn't there. Now, my arm isn't me, my leg isn't me, and if that's not me, then the whole that's made up of those parts that aren't me can't be me. It doesn't mean I'm not there, it just means I'm not there in the way we think I was. It's very, very important to remember. We're not saying that I'm not here. I'm here teaching. You hear me. I'm talking. So I'm here. I'm just not here in the way we used to, before we started studying emptiness, the way we used to think. I'm here because you have the karma to have the seeds ripen to have someone trying to teach you about emptiness. And that's when those seeds go away, I won't be here anymore for you. So hopefully that's not going to happen for a while, but if there's no me coming from any one of them, of my parts or all of them together, then the me that I sense I am must be coming from somewhere else. And that somewhere else is how I treat others. From my perception of me, for you, it's how you treat others. If you've helped people learn new things, let's say you've helped them learn a language or you're translating and you're helping students learn the Dharma, that's ripening, will ripen, well, it's ripening from the past now to have a teacher and will ripen in the future to have a teacher. So teaching is a very powerful way, or doing translation is a very powerful way to help have the teachers you need in the future. Grading homework is another wonderful way to get the karma for having teachers in the future. What are the fundamental problems that are raised simply by saying my mind or my body? When we say my mind or my body, we're implicitly saying that there is a bigger me who owns or controls this mind or body. We need to look into the question of whether this me is something outside the body and mind. Is, for example, the mind something that we say we own and are outside of, in the way that we say a book is mine when we hold it in our hand? Or is the mind part and parcel of me in the way that the pages are part of the book? If the first was the case, then there'd be a me outside of my mind, a me in which the mind belonged. Then we would, when we had a thought, we'd have to say my mind is having a thought. We don't identify with the mind. We always say I'm having a good thought. We don't say my mind is having a good thought. In the case I'm not the one who possesses my mind in the way I possess a book, I am saying that I am my mind. So suppose, on the other hand, that if I really were my mind and not some large possessor of that mind, in that case, I couldn't say I am hungry or I am cold, since cold and hunger are detected only through the body, and I'm only the mind, not some large possessor of both body and mind. So what's this trying to say? The idea is forced upon us by how we've treated others, how I think of myself. If I've been kind to others and helped them feel good about themselves, then I myself will have a very clear sense of who I am and a high degree of healthy self-esteem. So it's all of this is coming from seeds that I've created through my actions of body, speech, and mind. So whenever you think of something as not existent, not self-existent, and thus not being there, that's incorrect. It's so powerfully incorrect. We need to be constantly trying to understand that it's not that we're not there, When we say we're not there really, it's because we're saying we're not there the way we thought we were there in the past. So when, like in the Heart Sutra, there's no body, there's no eyes, no ears, no throat, no touch. It's not that there isn't, we're not saying there aren't any eyes, we're saying there aren't any eyes self-existently. And all through the Heart Sutra, you have to remember when he says things aren't there, he's basically saying things aren't there self-existently. But we're going to examine that in much greater detail in Lam RIm 2. And I think you'll find that very fascinating, how we go through and describe that. In examining whether I'm my body and my mind, the question arises, just who is it that goes on when we die? If it is given in the, it is a given in the discussion of this question that someone does indeed go on after death, because, to put it simply, there was someone who came into this life from somewhere else. So I died and then was reborn, reincarnated, if you want to call it that. So I had to come from somewhere. If I am my body or my mind, then I disappear when I die. But Bonko Rinpoche points out that this raises problems with the well-known laws of karma that says once a seed is planted in the mind by our doing something to somebody else, that seed must eventually open and grow. So that means when I die, I have all those seeds that still have to ripen. So that alone is an indication that I haven't disappeared. Now, it's very, very important as we're discussing the 4 laws of karma, when we first teach that, and this is something that I try and remember when I teach the 4 laws. The 4 laws of karma, the last one says karma must ripen. It has to ripen. It may take a while. It does increase, as the earlier laws of other laws of karma talk about, but it must ripen. Now, there's a caveat to that. If you do the 4 powers of purification, you can purposely destroy, not just damage, but destroy the bad seeds from a bad deed. So it's not that when we say it has to ripen if you don't do the 4 powers. So that makes it so it's not a good thing to do something bad and then do the 4 powers to get rid of it. What we really want to be doing is thinking of things. For instance, something like Parkinson's appears in my life. I need to be doing the 4 powers of purification to try and eliminate the seeds every day, the seeds I have for having Parkinson's. Now, an interesting thing's happened just recently. I began swinging my arms again when I walk. One of the indicators you have Parkinson's or a neurological condition, my left arm, I noticed my left arm wasn't swinging when I walked. And even when I tried to get it to swing, the minute I stopped thinking about it swinging, it would stop swinging. Now I notice when I walk, it swings all by itself. Does that mean my Parkinson's disappearing? Maybe. I like to think so. I'll tell you in 6 more months whether something else is getting better. Right now, it seems to be getting a little bit worse. I'm going to have to do some neurological testing to see if I'm starting to have problems with my mind. That's going to happen sometime this summer. So I guess we'll find out. I don't think I am, but it's for a neurological situation like this, there's no real quantifiable test, and that they can say, I've got this much of they can't use chemistry or an instrument to measure a quantity. So they have to do these written tests, and they're 4 to 6 hours. I can't imagine sitting somewhere talking to somebody about my brain for 4 to 6 hours, but there's not enough in my brain to talk about for that long. Well, that's not true. I can probably talk for 4 hours. If we're discussing missiles, I could talk for 4 hours very easily. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. There are billions upon billions of seeds in our mind. And if they simply disappear with the mind and body when we died, then this would break the law which says all seeds must come to fruition. I think that's, well, that's kind of a circular argument. So what kind of me must go on? To answer that, we have to overcome our natural idea that there's some kind of me who owns the seeds. What if, rather, the me consisted of very perceptions rising from these seeds? Seeds for perceiving one certain mind and body gradually diminish in their power as they produce that mind and body, and eventually this mind and body die. So that's the idea of a mind stream. A mind stream generated, I think of the mind stream going along like this, and David or Samadhi came down, was a bleb in the mind stream, came back up, and I'm going to the next iteration out of the mind stream, which won't be me. It'll be somebody or something else, somewhere else, but they'll come down, then they'll die and go back and continue. So the mind stream is, as we say, mind stream. It's continuous, it's flowing constantly. It's been flowing since time beginningless time, and will flow through the end of time. Well, end of time. Endless, endless time. Back to the future entity, but that future entity is not going to be samadhi. It's going to be somebody or something. And that's where my belief, the samadhi is going to die, in the sense that the mind stream coming down and being samadhi will die. But the mind stream doesn't die. And that's why I'm not worried about death, because the samadhi's not going to be around, but I'm going to be around in some other form. So I don't have to worry about whether I'm dying or not. I mean, samadhi, will be dead, but that doesn't mean the entity that is named samadhi will be dead. So maybe one way to look at it is the name samadhi will die, but the entity that's samadhi, that isn't labeled samadhi, won't die. Maybe that's an easier way to think about it. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? Oh. It is said in scripture that geese have the ability to stick their beaks into a glass of water and milk mixed together and drink up just the milk, leaving all the water. This image is carried over to cases where we need to be able to distinguish between two things which are difficult to tell one from another. In our case here, we need to be able to focus on an object, whether it's a song or even just ourselves, and divide the real song or me from the gotcha version of each, from the one we always thought existed, but what in truth doesn't exist, and the one we're believing that does exist because and causes us such tremendous suffering. So as an exercise, we can stand in front of a mirror and look at ourselves. Somewhere in front of us is one me, which really does exist, and another me, which we think exists but doesn't. The two are mixed together like water and milk. How can we separate them? There is one me which is flowing from seeds in our mind, which is fluid and completely dependent upon how much good we have been doing toward others. We are lucky to have this me because it means we can make this me whomever we want just by doing more and more good. This is the me that really exists. Then there's the me appearing to us at the same time, which is as solid and fixed and out there. This me, since it exists out there, as also to be served with things that are out there. This me will be happy if they get more money or more food or more attention than somebody else. This is not to say these things are bad, only that if we perceive them as coming from something outside of us, we will be sorely disappointed. In the case of money, for instance, it's not that I will get it by competing with others and taking it away from them. Rather, it will flow from inside, from seeds that I planted in my mind by sharing with others. I had an interesting thing happen. Let's see, when was it? Last Tuesday morning. I had a class with students on course 10 in Malaysia, and we were talking about rejoicing. And one couple has a charity. They went to visit the actual building and the people, and this charity, for at no cost, helps elderly get their medicine in Malaysia. And I just really like that. No cost. You don't have to pay a fee. You don't have to join a club. You go there and you get your medicine. And I think that's extraordinary. And that all comes from charity. So I asked for and got the address, and I sent them a donation because that's the kind of thing I want to see in my future. So by donating to something as powerful as that and dedicating it, that's a way to set the seeds for me to see that kind of thing in the future. There's another thing, a medical thing. Let's see how that worked. I'm trying to think of the name of the organization. You sign up and belong to it. You have a dividend. You pay into it, and if you get sick, your bills are covered completely because there are thousands of other people in it, and they make their donation. I'm not sure how they get the money, but we wanted to join it, but I couldn't be covered for Parkinson's because it was a pre-existing condition, so we couldn't join. But so if you want money, this is an interesting point that I think we can get confused. If you want money, giving somebody else money isn't the proper way. You need to give somebody else the money with wisdom. So as you give them the money, as you make a donation to a Dharma center, you think to yourself, by my giving donation to the Dharma center, I'm making it possible for the Dharma to spread, and that's the way that I will get Dharma in the future. And because I'm doing it to help spread the Dharma, I may or may not get money in the future. It's generosity. It doesn't have to be, in my opinion, generosity in giving. Let's say you give food to the needy, to the homeless. That's generosity. Getting money from somebody is generosity. So it doesn't have to be that if you give food, you'll get food in the future. You will, but you also, because it's generosity, you also will be getting what else you need in terms of generosity in the future. So never confuse it. Never think it's always one-to-one ripening. I think money's about the best one because there's so many ways to be generous. Well, I've been generous in trying to help people get the information they need by compiling all the ACI readings and answer keys and student notes. That's the way I've been able to do well with my understanding and research and other projects. In fact, I put together this Tibetan Buddhist book of lists, and it's going to be translated in Spanish, German, Russian, and Chinese, as well as English. So I was having trouble remembering something with my students in South Africa. So I had to use the book of lists to look it up. It was the 4 points of virtue. I can never keep that straight. The 4 points of virtue are not to respond to a scolding with a scolding, not to respond to criticism with criticism, not to respond to anger with anger, and not to respond to a beating with a beating. I just, for some reason, can't remember that. So I looked it up, and sure enough, I was really glad to see it was in my book of lists. I hope to have the translations done by the end of this month. And believe me, as soon as I get it in any form, I can send it to you all. I will send you a copy of it. I think you'll find it very interesting. Okay. After describing emptiness as to be experienced directly in deep meditation, Bumka Rinpoche goes on to speak about the wisdom of the aftermath, the wisdom of the illusion. So what does he mean with these two types of wisdom? Aftermath here refers to a period of extraordinary experiences which begins just after we come down out of the direct perception of emptiness. The aftermath period begins while we're still on our meditation cushion and continues for the entire rest of the day until we go to sleep. And I want to be sure to remind you all, this is Geshe Michael talking, not me. I have not had the direct perception of emptiness, at least not in this lifetime. During this period, this aftermath of the direct perception, we're no longer in a state of meditation, but we do undergo some amazing experiences, such as the direct experience of ultimate love, the direct experience of bodhicitta in a very powerful way, the ability to see our future enlightenment, and the capacity to read the minds of others. One of the most important experiences during the aftermath is understanding about the nature of the world around us. During the aftermath, we, despite ourselves, go back to seeing things as they are, but we know they are not that way. So yes, we go back to seeing them, and our first reflection is, yes, I didn't deserve to have someone get angry at me, but we immediately go, that's wrong. Instead of saying, oh, that's not fair, we know to say, no, the reason that happened to me was my past karma ripening. Now, my wife and I have not seen emptiness directly, but throughout the day, I'm always looking for examples of, and catching myself, making sure that I'm saying that's coming from seeds ripening. It's not coming from self-existently, from me. There is a discrepancy between the way things appear then and how we understand them really to be. This is the actual meaning of the word illusion. Things are not what they appear to be. It's not that things aren't there. That's what we usually think of an illusion. It's not that things aren't there. What the illusion is, what isn't there is the self-existent thing. The illusion is there's something there self-existently. But we know that's not true. So let's describe a little bit more about what dependent origination means, because we talk about that. And what confused me initially when studying this is that there'd be the term dependent origination, then there'd be independent origination, independent origination. And I thought it was the word independent, and it got very confusing. So I'll try not to let that happen here. Dependent origination could be defined as the fact that things do things. Bumka Rinpoche describes dependent origination in three different ways. Dependent origination is the fact that things come from their causes, but this only applies to created things. It is also dependent origination is the fact that things are composed of their parts, which then also includes uncreated things. And the fact dependent origination is the fact that things are projections of the seeds in our mind, planted there by how well we've helped others or what we've done wrong in the past. So how does Arya Nagarja describe the relationship between dependent origination and emptiness? How can we use this in real life? This is a quote from Arya Nagarjuna's work. There is not a single working thing which has any nature of its own. Thus it is that those gone to bliss have taught that all these things arise in dependence. So that's Arya Nagarjuna talking about dependent origination. That is, the very fact that things have no nature within them is what allows them to appear one way or another, depending on what our seeds project. In real life, this translates to the fact that we can literally make whatever we want to have happen, happen. Suppose we like someone and they like us, but would like them to pay more attention to us than they do now. If this person is not empty and not paying attention to us for somehow an inherent quality within them, there could be no way for us to change them. If, however, they are empty of self-existent, that means the way we see them behave is in actuality coming from us, and this in fact is what dependent origination really means. This in turn means we can change them. First, we need to identify the kind of behavior we need to exhibit toward others to plant the seeds to see the person change. So this is an interesting point because earlier today in the class this morning, we were talking about one of the students is having problem with her coworkers being dishonest and fudging the data that they get evaluated on. And this particular student, because is a serious Dharma student, realizes that falsifying records to try and get a better job review is not a good thing to do. It's exactly the wrong thing to do. So we're trying to figure out how to stop this from happening, how to change the ripening. And my wife had a wonderful idea. What this particular student needs to do is go help somebody else with a similar problem solve their problem. That's going to help her solve her problem. The way I approached it was she has to think of if someone came to her and said, I know you're being dishonest and we need to fix that. Would that be something she would take and go, oh, well, let's fix it, or would she be upset? So the way to approach these other workers is not to accuse them of doing something wrong. It would be to help them do something right. So for instance, if she works at a call center and they're supposed to obviously be very pleasant to the various people that call in and in return, if they say they're going to return information, then they've got to carry through. And what people are doing is they're not replying to complaints and they're not reporting the complaints. So it sounds like they're doing a really good job. So my advice to her was to say, we need to get better numbers, and then say to them, how can we do that? How can we get a better response from the people that are taking care of our clients? And that's an innocent question. It's not implying that anybody's doing something wrong. It's asking this person for advice. And that's one thing I found in my life is if you ask someone else for advice instead of always telling them what to do, that's a huge step forward to a pleasant relationship. Huge step. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but it means you've asked for their advice. You do, and my humblest expectation is you have to make sure that they understand you thought about what they said and not just blow it off. Sometimes in my work at Diamond Mountain, they'd give me a really good idea for solving a problem, and I'd thank them right then and there. That's the other thing. If someone gives you advice, even if you don't like them or you're jealous of them or they're a competitor, sincerely thank them if they've helped you. There was a quote from Mark Twain. I have to look that up. I'll have to make a note. Mark Twain quote. Not sure I'm going to find this. Oh, I see in a notepad here. This is kind of off subject, but I'm known for skipping around in my subjects. I think I asked everybody what their worst mental affliction was. So if you don't mind sharing, or Sheila, you can tell me what Katya's worst mental affliction is. I'm kidding. So what's my worst mental affliction? I think right now it's getting mad at myself, but getting frustrated. I just continually get, I'm not acting out as much on it, but I'm still find myself getting mad when I have trouble getting dressed, tying my shoes, or cooking and opening Ziploc bags. So I think that'd be mine. I get frustrated easily, but I'm improving because I don't act out on it. I still get frustrated, but I don't throw anything or get mad at my lovely wife. Get mad at myself. I get frustrated and I try and react with wisdom. So Jackie, if you don't mind sharing, what mental affliction do you think you have that you need to work on?
I would have said anxiety, but now I also think especially the ability to concentrate and to keep the mind focused in class as much as I'm trying. But others in the family it's swirling around a lot in my mind. This is like in the very moment, so I'm being honest.
Oh, that's fine. This is what we're talking about is a difficult subject to grasp, but we have to keep talking about it. We have to, more importantly, we have to see how it works in our everyday life. If you just leave this as your practice on your cushion and don't take it out into the world with you, it's kind of pointless, because the world is your laboratory for experiencing and understanding and working with these concepts. So it's very important to take it out in the world. And it's important, if it's confusing or causing you anxiety, see what you can put on the back burner. Take a small chunk and work on it instead of the whole massive concept. But don't give up. And I'm not saying you're giving up. I'm just saying, really strongly reminding all of you, this is confusing. All the meditation issues we're going to be talking about are confusing to me, but that doesn't mean I don't want to teach them, because the only way I'm going to learn them is by teaching them. So Sheila, what's your worst mental affliction?
I think that is impatience, because I'm only hurry and I feel that I don't have time, and it's the worst thing that I have.
Okay, so.
But sorry, I think that I don't have time, but it doesn't true. I have a lot of time, but it's an illusion.
Yeah, you think you never have enough time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm worried because of that.
So the way to take care of that, how do you take care of that? What do you have to do now to set the seeds in the future to have all the time you think you need?
I'm just stop myself and I breathe slowly, and I repeat to myself, I have a lot of time, I have a lot of, but I don't know how much, what else I have to
Okay.
do.
Okay, well, that's good, but that's in the moment. That's not setting the seeds for the future. So if you don't think you have enough time, I would suggest finding someone who needs help getting a project done, help them get it done in time and on time and on budget or whatever, and then dedicate that to, well, for instance, shopping. Someone needs to go shopping, but they're in a hurry. So you go shopping with them and you help them get everything they need. And so they don't have to worry about missing an appointment, or help someone get to an appointment on time. Go out of your way to help somebody get to a doctor or dentist appointment on time. And then dedicate the fact that you help them do that. So the fact that you won't be conceiving of not having enough time, you will have all the time you need.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Katya, what do you have? Can't be the same thing.
No, I think that the concentration, I don't have too much concentration in the classes or in the meditation or when I am with someone else. I have a lot of concentration when I am running or I am doing the bike. That it's good, but when I'm doing other things, I'm not have concentration. I think that is because I am multitask.
Oh, that's very interesting. I think that's a very good point. Multitasking is a great thing, but you have to be sure that each thing you're multitasking, you take to fruition. So maybe part of the problem is you're not completing things. Concentration. So is it something distracting you? In particular, do you think about food or music or running or biking? What breaks your concentration?
I start thinking what I'm going to do after the thing that I'm doing.
Okay, so that's multitasking.
Yes.
Well, okay. Okay, you need to find someone who needs help with concentration. And how do you help someone who needs help with concentration? Let me think about that. Oh, go out of your way to make sure you don't stop someone from concentrating. So that means being respectful.
Don't disturb someone else.
Right. That's what I'm getting to. Work very hard not to disturb anybody in any way, because they may be trying to concentrate and you're disturbing them. So think during the day of how you disturb others. Now, let's say you sing when you run, and maybe people don't really want to hear you singing while you run. So then you stop and you say, well, that could be disturbing people, so I'll sing in my mind. I won't sing out loud. I'm not saying you do that, but that's the kind of the example. What's another good example? Idle talk. Idle talk would be the kind of thing that could disturb someone else's. If you involved in gossip or spreading rumors, that would be a way that you're disturbing someone's concentration. So how would that actually happen? I have trouble with concentration as well. But my trouble is I'm falling asleep when I'm trying to meditate. And it probably has something to do with only getting 4 hours of sleep a night. But I tend to think that isn't the case. I'm not sure. I need to look into helping others with their concentration. Well, I am. I'm trying to help you. So that's powerful karmic object. So that's going to help me. Anybody have any ideas on how she can work on her concentration?
To do one thing at a time, not many things at one time. For example, when she's working, not listen the radio, or when she is in, I don't know.
Well, that's interesting, Sheila. I like that idea of not listening to the radio and being distracted by it, because that breaks concentration. If you're going to listen to the radio, listen to the radio. If you're going to listen to music, listen to music, and
Or
not
for
have it on in
example,
the background. Go ahead.
Or for example, when you are hearing a class, don't look the cell phone.
You're looking at your cell phone?
No.
Me sometimes.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's that's good. Don't look at your cell phone if you're at dinner with someone. Don't just kind of take your cell phone out and put it in your lap and look down and hope they don't see you looking down. And maybe, and this would be something I would have trouble doing, but now that I'm suggesting it, I think turn off your cell phone. If you're at dinner, unless there's a really important thing going to happen, and the only thing I could think of is my publisher needs to get a hold of me, turn off your cell phone. Just turn it off. Don't mute it. Turn it off so you're not tempted to pick it up and look at it. If I turn my cell phone all the way off, it takes a couple of minutes to turn back on. So that's very good. Cell phone. Very good. Thank you, Sheila. I think that's a really important, and the idea of if you're going to do something, do that thing. I find listening, I've actually found that's difficult for me. I love my theme music, and I just recently got some more theme music that I really enjoy. But if I try and listen to that while I'm writing, I can't. I get distracted. So I just spend, unfortunately, I do this just before I go to bed. And sometimes I'll spend 45 minutes listening to music and then realize it's 2:30 and I've got to get up at 4:30. So I've got to change that habit. But listen to music, focus your attention on one thing, and help others. So if someone else is having trouble with concentration, help them. So maybe the next time someone says they're having trouble concentrating, talk to them about the cell phone. Talk to them about listening to music. So that's very good. See, that's why I love asking you guys for help. That's very helpful. Okay, Svetlana, how about you? What's your main mental affliction? Or did I already ask you? No. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Yeah, thank you.
There we
Yeah.
go.
So my main mental affliction, maybe it's something like low esteem. Maybe it comes from jealousy or something bad. But quite often I feel like depressed, no motivation to do something good. So like uh, uh, I don't know how to characterize it, but sometimes I don't feel energetic enough to wake up in the morning and feeling depressed. Yes, but where it comes from, it might come from like, I don't know, pride and jealousy. So, and what is the strongest one? I don't know how to solve it. Yeah, but I think these two, pride and jealousy, is something to work on.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned pride and jealousy, because I have found, how can I put this? I'm not jealous of people that can translate, because I can't. I'm not. Jealousy implies that I wish they couldn't do that. And I don't wish anybody couldn't translate. So I'm not jealous. I'm sad that I can't translate. I'm sad I don't have the ability to do that. but I'm not jealous. Pride is okay. You got to be careful with pride. The kind of pride that you think you're better than somebody else is the wrong kind of pride. The pride that you're studying the Dharma, the pride that you're translating for people, the pride that you're helping spread the Dharma is a good form of pride. So comparing self to others. So how can you help somebody else with low self-esteem? Oh, thank people for what they do and thank them as specifically saying, good job. Thanks for helping me with finding that information out. That's a way of building their self-esteem because they helped you, so they feel better about themselves instead of just saying, oh, you got me the information, thanks. Go out of your way to actually thank them because they did something you needed very, very sweetly and very completely. There's a difference between saying, well, oh, thanks for doing that versus saying, boy, that really helped. I really appreciate what you did. So appreciation and thanks, to me, thanks is just, oh, thanks. Thanks for doing that. Whereas appreciation is, thank you for doing that. It really helped and it solved a problem I had. I'm so grateful. So find yourself looking for examples like that for other people. The fact that you're here translating for the class here is a huge thing. And that's helping so many other people that that should help with low self-esteem. Okay, who's next? Natalia, you're not getting away without telling us your mental affliction.
Oh boy, I have so many, I don't know what to choose.
Okay, choose the top 5.
Okay. I have a lot of fears.
Oh, fears like someone's going to come beat on you, or fears that you're going to not understand the teaching?
Fears from the dark, fears that my kids are gonna get sick, fears that I'm gonna die, fears of, and so forth and so on.
Wow. Well, what can you do about that?
Study Dharma.
Yeah, study the Dharma, but I'm trying to think outside of yourself how you can help. Fear of the dark. Get more flashlights.
Mhm.
No, fear of the dark. Think of someone else's fears. The fear that it's fear. It's not fear of the dark you need to worry about. It's fear itself. And so, how could we work on fear? I don't have. I'm trying to think of what fears I have. I guess the main fear I have would be my computer fails. I'm not for my wife and I are deeply in love still. I'm not worried about her loving me or my not loving her. One fear I have, which is trivial, is what I'm going to have for dinner. Still don't know, and I'm 45 minutes away from cooking dinner, and I've got to figure out what I'm going to make. I have an idea, but sometimes I think I'm letting my wife down by not serving her a wonderful meal, but that's a pretty trivial fear compared to being afraid of the dark or afraid for your children's lives. Well, for your children's lives, protect life. Go out of your way to protect life and dedicate to protecting of it. You save a cricket or something from being killed, and as you put it outside, you dedicate that to your long life for your children. Things like that. That seems pretty trivial, but that's very powerful. Okay, Evgeny, what do you have as your top mental affliction? Well, maybe he's not there. Busted. Okay, Becky, can you type or? Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Craving or aversion. How could I? I don't have to think about that. I don't have a good answer for craving and aversion. How could you help somebody else? Well, if one of your parents has a particular craving for something, you could help them try and get out of, stop the craving. I crave dessert, so I have to work hard on not having dessert, which I'm not doing very well with. My wife's grandmother used to say to her, eat dessert first because you never know what's going to happen. Then if nothing happens during dinner, have dessert after dinner. I haven't got her to do that yet in our relationship. So I've got a question for you. Now in Australia, I think dessert's pretty important. In America, dessert's pretty important. In Mexico, is dessert a big deal or is it? Yeah? Okay. One thing I've noticed about dessert in very good, Becky. I'll have to think about that. One thing I've seen about dessert, the pastries in Mexico is they're not as sweet as in the United States. Or are the sweets in the United States too sweet?
In Mexico, there are sweets also.
Like what I had these little pastries, they're little discs and they have in them a fruit filling. They're about maybe this big around. They have a little bit of fruit filling, but they're really not very sweet. I don't like honey is too sweet for me. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what's an example of something that's too sweet is pecan pie. That's far too sweet for me. But I don't know how we got on desserts. Oh, aversion, craving and aversion. What else do I crave? I guess my main craving issue would be chocolate. I really like chocolate. But it's not craving to the extent I'll do something wrong to get it. So I'm getting, in that sense, it's not a craving, it's a like, but it's not a craving in the sense that I'll do something wrong to get it. Now, I mentioned I like chocolate. This isn't a suggestion that any of you send me chocolate. This is not a suggestion. If I want something sent to me, I'll be very frank and say, I need chocolate, but I don't need chocolate. So please don't send me any. Well, you can send me a little. No, I'm kidding. Don't send me any. Instead, take a bite of chocolate for us. So next time you have some chocolate, think of me and say, I'm having this chocolate because I know Lama Sumati likes chocolate. That's the solution. Then you can get the calories and I get the benefit. So, okay, we digressed. How does Lord Buddha in the sutra requested by Anavatapata dispel the idea if things are empty and therefore like an illusion, then there's no great difference between right and wrong and no need to struggle to be good? Pabonka Rinpoche quotes us, a verse from that sutra that says, and this is really a nice quote, nothing that is started by a cause ever starts at all. It has no nature at all of starting. What we say is empty is anything that starts from a cause. Anyone who understands emptiness is a person who is careful. Anyone who understands emptiness is a person who is careful. If we really understand emptiness, we first of all understand that nothing has any quality to it. Secondly, we understand that whatever quality we do think we see in an object is coming from us. If we want things to be better for ourselves, we need to treat others better, period. We need to be more careful that we have to take good care of others, and certainly not the opposite. So what are the two extremes we fall into as we try to understand what things are empty of? This is something you really need to be able to articulate at a moment's notice if someone asks you this. So one extreme is called the extreme of saying that things do exist, meaning that we believe things do exist in a way that they seem to exist coming from their own side. If that's the case, there's nothing I can do about it. The other extreme is saying things don't exist, meaning that we think if things don't exist from their own side, then they don't exist at all. It's really important that we don't catch ourselves falling off the two extremes. Well, I think that's pretty much all I want to say today. So, this is the end of the first Lam RIm. We've covered a lot of topics. I think I think you'll find that Lam RIm 2 will continue with the topic of emptiness, the emptiness of self. And I think you'll find that that's very interesting. So please come March 12th. And I don't know if we're going to use the same link, but I guess Natalia will help us with that. So let's dedicate. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma top of the Buddhas, always increase. Thank you again for this opportunity to teach. I think it will be making much more sense as we get into the later Lam RIms.
Thank you, Venerable Smarty. We're gonna keep the same Telegram chat for this class in the same on the platform. It's gonna be the same class, and I believe the same Zoom. Thank you so much for teaching.
Okay. We'll see you all on the 12th.
May I ask a question, please?
Sure.
It's a question that really sits very closely to an experience that I have come across recently, which was very serious.
Okay, hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I'll be right back.
Sure.
We're doing the Source of All My Good this coming weekend. And especially for the students in Guadalajara, I've made it so there's no excuse for the time. Now, unfortunately, Russia has to get up at 5 a.m., but I don't think that's so bad. For one or two classes, getting up at 5 a.m. won't kill anybody. Jackie, you've already done the Source of All My Good, haven't you? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's one of my favorite things to teach. And I modified the visualizations a little bit. Oh, and the other thing, we're going to teach it in the forward order instead of the reverse order. I think that'll be helpful for the students in Russia. So we're going to have way too much fun. Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Lama.
Bye.
See you
You're
on
welcome.
Friday.
Thank you, Smarty. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Try to avoid too much of the chocolate.
Yeah, I will. Maybe.
Enjoy the rest of your